My insane wife tried to ruin my life because I didn't put my shoes away. After listening to heart monitors and suffering patients all day, the last thing I wanted to come home to was a bitching wife, but that's exactly where I found myself. My wife is an influencer, but I am an ER nurse who works long hours. Working in the ER is not for the faint of heart, and I usually spend 12 hours on my feet covered in blood, organs, and fecal matter. I'm currently on call at the hospital where I work, and I have to be ready to go into work at any moment. Usually, on-call nurses stay at the hospital in overnight dorms, but my wife gets upset at me if I don't sleep over at her house enough. So I compromise by staying at her house a few times a week even if it means I have to commute. My calls are urgent and it gives me anxiety to make my patients wait, but I was just trying to be a good husband. My wife has said in the past that I don't love her if I don't spend at least 4 nights a week at her place. I love my wife, but we haven't moved in together yet because she is an extreme neat freak, and I don't think it would be easy to live with her. For example, whenever I get to my wife's place after a long shift, she freaks out and shrieks at me if I don't put my shoes in a closet and throw my scrubs in the wash the moment I step into her apartment. I know my scrubs and shoes are nasty. Like I said, I come home with human waste all over me, but all I want is a second to breathe when I get home. I don't make a beeline for the washing machine after opening the door, she follows me around and nags me until I do. Sometimes she gets so upset that she cries and gives me the silent treatment for the rest of the night. Sometimes I'm just exhausted and I would love to be able to sit down and maybe drink a glass of water before having to do effing laundry. But by far her worst habit, she has to be her constantly putting away my work shoes when I have told her over and over again that I need them ready and next to the bed. I like to keep my shoes and clothes right next to my side of the bed so I can be ready and out the door as quick as possible. Doesn't seem to understand that I'm already sacrificing time by sleeping at her place instead of the hospital, and that I need every second I can spare after I get a call. People are literally dying on the other line, and I need to be able to get to them as fast as possible. I don't know how many times I tried to explain to her how dear my commute time is without being met with an eye roll. As I mentioned, my wife doesn't really have a traditional job, so I don't think she understands the responsibility I have to get to work as fast as possible after my phone rings. I feel like she truly values the cleanliness of her apartment over the human lives I'm saving, and I wish I saw it sooner. At this point, we have had multiple arguments about her hiding my shoes and making me late for work, but all she has to say is that she didn't want my filth all over her nice apartment. I had been working these on-call shifts for weeks at this point, and I could feel my patience burning up between my wife's constant nagging and the stress I was facing at work. Everything boiled over last week when I got a call in the middle of the night and I woke up to see that, of course, my effing shoes were not next to the bed where I needed them. I was being called in because there had been a local fire in the middle of the night and there were dozens of injuries and burn victims. Usually, I would just look around my wife's apartment for a few minutes until I found where she had hidden my shoes, but my anxiety exploded into anger and I decided to shake her awake that night instead. I can admit that I was frustrated and I may have been yelling at her, but my frustration had been building for months and I had been begging her to stop this. After I shook her awake, I yelled at her to tell me where my shoes were, and I told her that she was going to get one of my effing patients killed all because she was being anal freak about my shoes. She just instantly started crying and ran to her bathroom to lock herself in. She still hadn't told me where my goddamn shoes were and was refusing to answer me, so I had no choice but to leave and do a 12-hour shift in my crappy Walmart gym shoes. It was a miserable shift, but the only thing that hurt more was getting on social media after I clocked out and seeing that my wife had made a huge post on Facebook accusing me of abuse. She had.